The interstellar research station Aurora Prime floated silently above the gas giant Veron. Its massive hull reflected the soft light of distant stars, casting a faint glow across the metal corridors. Inside, the station was alive with activity. Scientists and explorers from multiple planets moved quickly, checking screens, discussing discoveries, and preparing reports. Humans had only recently joined this galactic alliance, but already they were leaving impressions. One of them was Lieutenant Jason Kepler, a human with a reputation for courage, intelligence, and calm in tense situations. Jason walked down a corridor line with observation windows that looked out into space. His eyes, sharp and attentive, scanned the room for anything unusual. He was here on a standard mission, to observe and interact with the delegation from Zifra, a distant planet known for its telepathic inhabitants. Among them was a figure who drew more attention than the others, a woman with pale, glowing skin and eyes that shimmered like liquid silver. She was Princess Lyra, heir to the Zifran throne. Her presence alone demanded respect. But there was something about her that made even seasoned diplomats pause. As Jason passed by the group for the first time, he felt a subtle change in the air. Not something he could explain, just a faint tension, as if the station itself had noticed something unusual. He didn't see it yet, but Princess Lyra froze mid-step. Her silver eyes widened slightly, and her lips parted, almost as if she had seen a ghost. The guards beside her glanced around, but none understood why she had stopped moving. She didn't speak or make any gesture. She simply stared, rooted to the spot, and her mind raced that it was a strange reaction for a Zifran. They were known for their calm, controlled emotions. But this was different. A scent, a subtle human scent, filled her senses. She inhaled quietly, trying to process it. It wasn't the scent of fear or danger. It was familiar, almost comforting. Her mind struggled to remember. Then, like a spark in the dark, a memory surfaced. Years ago, she had been stranded on a small, barren asteroid after a navigation accident. Her ship had been damaged beyond repair, and survival seemed impossible. But someone had found her, a human. He had risked everything to save her. She remembered his determination, his calm in the face of danger, and his kindness. He had never hesitated. He had saved her when no one else could. That human, could it really be him? Jason, unaware of her inner turmoil, continued walking with a professional air. He had been briefed on Zifrans, but nothing in his training prepared him for this kind of reaction. He noticed her gaze, but assumed she was simply observing him as part of the formalities. He nodded politely, a small smile on his face, and moved on. Princess Lyra, however, could not move. Her body refused to obey her commands. She was frozen in place, caught between the present and the past. Memories of the asteroid, of the human who had saved her, of the courage she had witnessed, flooded her mind. She had tried to forget, to live as a princess with duties and responsibilities. But this human scent had brought it all back in an instant. She remembered the moment clearly. The asteroid's surface was jagged and uneven, and the oxygen was running out. Every second counted. She had been terrified, thinking she would never leave that place alive. Then, out of the darkness, he appeared. His face was calm, his eyes focused. He carried tools, supplies, and a determination that seemed larger than life. He had lifted her from the wreckage, repaired her communicator, and guided her to safety. His words had been simple but filled with reassurance. We'll get through this. You'll be safe. Now, on Aurora Prime, she saw the same presence again. She could feel the same energy radiating from him. Humans were strange creatures, so fragile yet so strong, so unpredictable yet reliable. They had a spark that no other species possessed. And this particular human, she remembered every detail, every small action, every subtle gesture that had saved her life. Meanwhile, Jason reached the observation deck, overlooking the swirling storms of Veron below. He enjoyed moments like this, watching the universe in motion. There was something humbling about staring at planets and stars from a distance. It reminded him how small individual lives were in the grand scheme of things, and yet, how important courage and action could be. A single human choice, a single act of bravery, could change the course of events in ways the universe could not predict. Princess Lyra, still frozen in the corner, felt a strange mixture of fear and excitement. She had to speak to him, to confirm if this was truly the human from her memories. But Zifrin customs were strict. Royals did not approach others without protocol. Yet, her instincts screamed at her to act. She could not let this opportunity pass. She could not let fate hide from her again. The other Zifrins noticed her pause. One of the attendants approached carefully. "Princess, are you all right?" Lyra's voice was soft, almost whispering. I need a moment." She forced herself to breathe steadily, trying to regain composure. But the memory was too strong, too vivid. It consumed her thoughts, weaving the past and present into a single moment of recognition. Jason returned to the quarter after completing his observation. He paused when he saw Lyra standing alone, away from the group, her expression unreadable. Something in her gaze made him stop. There was a weight behind her eyes, an intensity he couldn't place. "Princess Lyra," he called gently, stepping closer. "Are you all right?" Lyra's voice trembled slightly, though she tried to mask it. I believe I am." "Thank you." She studied him carefully, the recognition in her mind still growing stronger. Could it really be him? She wanted to ask, to confirm, but the words seemed to stick in her throat. She was not used to such vulnerability. Royals were taught to hide emotions, to control impulses. But this human's presence stirred something within her that no protocol could contain. Jason noticed the hesitation, but did not press. There was something intriguing about her reaction, a subtle difference from other alien delegates he had met. Zifrins were generally calm, composed, even cold in their diplomacy. Yet here was someone who seemed human in her response. Not physically, of course, but in the way she reacted instinctively, emotionally. It was fascinating. The quarter grew quieter as most delegates moved on, leaving Lyra and Jason alone for a moment. Lyra's mind raced, trying to recall details, trying to connect this moment with the past. The scent, the energy, the determination it all matched. The human who had saved her was here, alive and standing before her. She felt a mix of relief, curiosity, and admiration. Jason finally spoke, breaking the tense silence. "I don't want to intrude, Princess. I just thought I'd check if you were okay. You seemed distracted." His tone was polite, professional, but there was genuine concern. Lyra appreciated that. Humans had a way of speaking that was direct but caring, something most Zifrins rarely understood. She nodded slowly. "I am fine. Thank you for your concern." Her gaze lingered on him, studying his features, his posture, the way he carried himself. Everything about him seemed familiar. The memory of the asteroid rescue was sharp in her mind, as if it had happened yesterday. And yet, here he was, in the middle of a galactic station, unaware of the impact he had on her life. Jason smiled faintly. "Very well. If you need anything, let me know." He started to walk away, but Lyra called softly. Almost instinctively, "Wait." He turned back, curious. "Yes." Lyra hesitated, then said, "Perhaps we could speak later, privately." Her voice was steady now, though her heart raced. She had to confirm the truth, had to know if fate had truly brought this human back into her life. Jason nodded, sensing the importance in her tone. "Of course," he replied. "Just tell me when and where." As he walked away, Lyra allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible smile. The universe had a strange way of weaving paths together. Humans, with their unpredictable courage and resilience, had always fascinated her. And now, the one human who had changed her life had returned, seemingly by chance, to the very place she never expected. For the first time in years, she felt a spark of hope, a sense that perhaps the universe was not so vast and indifferent after all. That spark would grow, guiding her actions, her thoughts, and her trust as she prepared to face the challenges ahead. And it all began with a scent of faint reminder of a human who had once saved her, and who might save her again. The corridors of Aurora Prime were quieter than usual now, the busy rush of delegates slowing as the morning cycle moved into routine. Princess Lyra walked slowly, her mind replaying the image of the human, Jason Kepler. who had passed her moments ago. Every detail returned vividly: the shape of his jaw, the calm in his eyes, the way he moved with purpose. Her heart pounded quietly in her chest, not from fear, but from a recognition so deep it startled her. She remembered the asteroid clearly. It had been years ago, yet the memory was sharp, like it had happened yesterday. She had been trapped on the barren rock, her ship broken beyond repair, her air supply dwindling. Panic had crept in with every passing moment, gnawing at her hope. And then he had appeared, Jason, the human who had rescued her without hesitation, who had treated her not as a princess, but as someone in need. Lyra had not understood humans well back then. To her, they were fragile creatures, small and unprotected compared to Ziphrans or other species of the galaxy. But that human, he was different. He had a fire inside him, a strength that no Ziphran or alien warrior could match. He had thought quickly, acted boldly, and moved with courage that defied expectation. In that moment, she had realized that humans could be extraordinary. Now, seeing him again, Lyra felt the same recognition, the same awe. She wanted to speak to him, to confirm if it was truly him. But she hesitated. Protocol, duty, and pride held her back. Royals were not supposed to approach others without reason, and the other Ziphrans were watching closely. She could not afford to appear vulnerable or distracted. So she walked to a quiet observation window, overlooking the swirling storms of Veron. She breathed deeply, trying to calm her thoughts. The scent of Jason lingered faintly in her memory, a scent that her species would not forget once recognized. It was not just physical, it carried energy, purpose, and courage. Her instincts, long trained to control emotion, struggled against this pull. Meanwhile, Jason returned to the station, unaware of the storm he had caused in Lyra's mind. He checked his datapad, reviewing the Ziphrans' physiology and their telepathic abilities. Ziphrans were impressive in their own right, capable of sensing emotions and thoughts subtly. But he had never seen a reaction like this. Something about Lyra's pause had intrigued him. He had noticed her gaze, the way she had frozen, the flicker of recognition in her eyes. Jason's curiosity grew. Humans were explorers, problem solvers, and observers by nature. He wanted to understand the connection between them. Why had she frozen? Why did she seem drawn to him in a way no protocol could explain? He decided that he needed to approach carefully, to understand without alarming her or breaking the delicate rules of interspecies diplomacy. Back in the observation area, Lyra's mind wandered further into her memories. She remembered the first moments Jason had appeared on the asteroid. He had landed a small rescue craft nearby, moving through the jagged rocks with calm determination. His hands had been steady, his eyes focused, yet there had been kindness in his words. "We'll get you out of here," he had said. Simple words, but powerful. They had instilled hope in her when hope seemed impossible. She remembered the dangerous climb down the jagged surface, the heavy debris, and the near collapse of the unstable rock formations. Jason had guided her carefully, encouraging her when she faltered, protecting her when a piece of rock threatened to fall. She had felt his presence like a shield, a force she could rely on without question. No other species had ever made her feel so safe, so understood, so protected. Lyra's chest tightened as she recalled the moment they reached the damaged shuttle. Jason had worked quickly, repairing what he could with limited tools, improvising in ways that no one from her species could have imagined. She had watched him in awe, realizing that human ingenuity, combined with courage, could overcome situations that logic alone could not solve. When they finally left the asteroid, she had looked at him with gratitude that words could never capture. He had saved her life, and in doing so, had earned her trust forever. Now, here he was, on Aurora Prime, looking as composed and confident as ever. She wanted to reach out, to speak, but something stopped her. Was it disbelief, caution, or perhaps the fear that this was merely her imagination? She shook her head slightly, trying to focus. She had to observe first, to be certain that it was truly him. Jason, for his part, had decided to review the station's communication logs. He was methodical, trained to observe patterns and understand context. He noted the subtle reactions of the different delegation, especially Lyra's behavior. She had been unusually quiet, observant, and tense. These were signs, he realized, of a mind processing recognition, memory, and emotional surprise. Yet he could not pinpoint the cause. He only knew that there was a connection, subtle but undeniable, between them. Hours passed. Lyra continued her observation from a distance, watching Jason move through his duties with calm efficiency. She noticed how he interacted with other species, how he adapted to unexpected situations, and how he maintained composure under pressure. Each action mirrored the qualities she remembered from the asteroid: courage, intelligence, quick thinking, and empathy. Humans were remarkable in their unpredictability, capable of responses that no alien species could always anticipate. And this particular human embodied those traits perfectly. Finally, Lyra decided to test her memory, to see if it aligned with reality. She arranged for a minor technical briefing near the observation deck, making sure Jason would be present. She observed him carefully, noting every small movement, every expression. The recognition within her grew stronger with each passing second. Yes, it was him. It had to be. Jason entered the briefing room, carrying his datapad. He smiled politely at the delegates and began his presentation. Lyra noticed how naturally he commanded attention, how quietly his confidence radiated, and how his calm demeanor reassured others. He was a human, yes, but not an ordinary one. He carried the spark of courage, empathy, and ingenuity that she had witnessed years ago. During a short break, Lyra approached a small console near the observation window. Pretending to review data, Jason glanced in her direction, noticing her presence. Their eyes met briefly, and a subtle understanding passed between them, unspoken but deeply felt. Lyra's mind raced, recalling details from the past, linking them with the present. She wanted to speak but had to maintain composure. Yet inside, her heart was certain. She remembered one final detail from the asteroid: the way he had looked at her when danger was near. The silent assurance in his gaze. Humans had a way of conveying trust without words, of taking calculated risks with confidence and care. Jason had been extraordinary then, and seeing him again confirmed that nothing had changed. As the briefing resumed, Lyra felt a new determination rise within her. She would find a way to speak to him privately, to confirm the truth of her memories, and perhaps to rekindle the bond that had saved her life. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but that unpredictability was their strength. And this human, this Jason, was living proof. Jason, unaware of the storm of memories he had triggered, continued with his duties, meticulous and careful. Yet a quiet sense of curiosity settled in him. He sensed that Lyra's attention was not casual, that there was something deeper, something connected to the past. Humans were naturally curious, and he could not ignore the signs. He resolved to observe patiently, to understand without forcing revelation. The day passed with careful observation, subtle glances, and the quiet tension of recognition. Lyra could not shake the memory of the asteroid, nor the realization that this human was once again in her presence. She was determined to uncover the truth, to connect with him, and perhaps to understand why humans continued to amaze her species. As night fell over the gas giant, the observation windows reflected stars like scattered diamonds across the darkness. Lyra stood alone, gazing outward, her thoughts a whirlwind of memory, recognition, and curiosity. Humans were strange and extraordinary creatures, unpredictable yet reliable, small yet capable of incredible courage. And this human, Jason Kepler, had once saved her life. Now, she hoped, he might influence her life once again. The next morning, Aurora Prime hummed with the usual activity. Scientists, diplomats, and explorers from various planets moved through the corridors, their conversations blending into a soft, constant murmur. Princess Lyra, however, felt a tension in her chest she could not ignore. Her mind replayed the memory of the human Jason Kepler every moment since she had seen him. She knew she had to act carefully. One wrong move could ruin the opportunity to confirm her memories. Lyra decided she needed a chance meeting with Jason, but it had to appear casual, natural. She walked through the observation deck as if she were inspecting the station's structure, her steps deliberate but seemingly random. Jason, reviewing reports on the station's energy systems, glanced up at the observation windows. Something told him Lyra was nearby. He did not know why, but he felt a faint pull, a curiosity he could not ignore. When their eyes met, something unspoken passed between them, a recognition that neither fully understood yet. Lyra froze for a brief moment, inhaling quietly, savoring the faint human scent she remembered from the past. Jason noticed her stillness and the intensity in her gaze. Unlike the other delegates, she was not just observing. She was studying him, evaluating, questioning. Humans, by nature, were curious, and Jason could not resist responding. He walked slowly toward her, careful not to startle her or break protocol. "Good morning, Princess," Jason said politely, his voice calm and steady. "I did not expect to see you here so early." Lyra smiled faintly, keeping her tone measured. "Morning, Lieutenant Kepler. I was reviewing the observation systems. It is important to understand our surroundings." Her words were formal, but her mind raced. Was he the same human from the asteroid? Could she truly trust her memory? She had to find a way to test him, to confirm the truth without revealing too much. Jason nodded, pretending to study the readings on a nearby console. "Observation is always wise, but I notice your attention is not entirely on the instruments." His eyes flicked toward hers. "Am I wrong?" Lyra's pulse quickened. He had noticed. He had seen the subtle recognition in her gaze. She had to act carefully. "Perhaps. My attention is divided. There is much to take in on a station like this." Her voice remained calm, but inside, excitement and nervousness battled. Jason smiled faintly, sensing that something important lingered beneath her words. Humans were perceptive by nature, and his intuition told him that Lyra was trying to hide something significant. Yet he respected her restraint. "I understand," he said. "Sometimes the mind notices more than it lets on." Lyra studied him carefully, analyzing his posture, the way he moved, the calm confidence in his expression. Each detail reminded her of the human from her memories. He was clever, courageous, and precise in ways few beings could match. And yet, here he was, blending into a diplomatic setting as if he belonged. Humans were remarkable, she realized, fragile in appearance, but capable of extraordinary action. To test the connection further, Lyra decided to speak indirectly about survival scenarios, something she knew only the human from the asteroid could respond to intuitively. "Tell me, Lieutenant," she began, her voice quiet but deliberate. "If you found yourself on an uninhabited asteroid with limited oxygen and no immediate rescue, how would you approach the situation?" Jason's eyes flicked toward her, a spark of curiosity lighting his face. "I would assess the environment first," he said, moving closer to a console for reference. "Check for resources, determine the safest route, and prioritize survival of those in danger. Every choice has a consequence, so caution and quick thinking must work together." Lyra's heart raced. The precision of his answer, the calm confidence, the thoughtfulness that all matched her memory perfectly. Only the human who had saved her on the asteroid would have responded with such clarity and courage. Her conviction grew. This was the same human. It had to be. She decided to escalate her test, subtly. And if the only way to survive required improvising with limited tools, something fragile and unreliable? Jason's expression remained steady, but his eyes sparkled with a hint of excitement. "Improvisation is key," he said. "Rigid rules fail in unusual situations. I would evaluate what is available and adapt quickly. Safety, speed, and creativity must work together. Survival is as much about thinking as it is about acting." Lyra felt a shiver of recognition. Every word, every nuance, was exactly what she remembered. She wanted to step forward, to speak freely, but restraint held her back. Protocol, duty, and caution were strong in her species, and she could not break them so easily. Yet, her mind raced with possibilities. This human could still be extraordinary, still capable of courage that even her people could not always match. Jason, noticing her intensity, took a careful step closer. He did not know why she reacted this way, but he felt a connection he could not explain. Humans often relied on intuition, and has told him that Lyra's interest was more than mere observation. "You seem familiar with these scenarios," he said quietly. "Is this just a thought experiment, or have you experienced something similar?" Lyra's eyes widened slightly. He had noticed the hint of memory in her voice. She had to respond carefully. "I have studied extreme situations," she said softly. "It is my duty to understand survival under all conditions. Experiences, valuable, even if one has not faced the dangers personally." She chose her words carefully, hiding the personal truth that Jason had indeed saved her. Jason nodded, accepting her answer for now. Yet he could sense the unspoken meaning. There was something behind her words, something tied to a memory, to a life-altering experience. Humans were trained to notice subtle cues, and he had noticed this one clearly, for a moment. The two of them stood quietly, the space between them filled with unspoken tension. Lyra's mind raced. She could confirm her memory directly, but revealing too much now could disrupt diplomatic relations or alarm her people. She needed patience, observation, and careful timing. Jason, sensing her hesitation, decided to respect her space. Humans valued respect for personal boundaries, especially in new relationships. Yet he could not ignore the spark of recognition he felt. There was a reason Lyra's attention had singled him out. There was a history here, even if unspoken. He would wait, observe, and act when the moment was right. Hours passed. Lyra continued to observe him from a distance, noting his interactions with other delegates. He was careful, polite, and efficient, yet there was a natural leadership in his movements. Humans were unpredictable in ways her species often underestimated, and Jason demonstrated this with quiet confidence. Every decision he made was precise, deliberate, and full of unspoken skill. Lyra realized something crucial. Humans, with all their unpredictability, had strengths that many advanced species could not replicate. They could adapt quickly, act boldly, and remain calm under pressure. In this Jason embodied every trait she had admired during the asteroid rescue. She felt a growing admiration, not only for what he had done in the past, but for the person he was now. Late in the afternoon, Lyra decided to approach him again. She waited for a quieter moment, when few others were nearby. Her steps were deliberate, her posture composed, but inside, anticipation and nervous energy pulsed. Humans often relied on subtle gestures, and she had to ensure her approach was measured yet noticeable. Jason, reviewing station data near the observation deck, noticed her approach. His intuition told him that this interaction was important, but he remained calm. Humans thrived in uncertainty, and he trusted his ability to navigate it. "Lieutenant," Lyra said softly, stopping a few feet away. Her eyes met his, steady and searching. "I believe we may have shared experiences in the past. Perhaps you remember a rescue operation on a remote asteroid?" Jason blinked, surprised. His mind raced, recalling the faint hints of a mission long ago. Fragments of memory that matched her description. "A rescue operation?" he asked carefully. "Can you give me more details?" Lyra hesitated, measuring her words. "You saved a life, Jason Kepler. A life that would have been lost without your courage and quick thinking. I am the one you rescued." Jason's breath caught slightly. Recognition sparked within him as memories resurfaced. An asteroid, jagged rocks, limited air. A terrified figure. Her. He looked at her, realization dawning. "Princess Lyra?" he asked softly, awe in his voice. Lyra nodded, a mixture of relief and excitement in her expression. "It is me," she confirmed. "I remember you. I have never forgotten." For the first time since her arrival on Aurora Prime, Lyra allowed herself to relax. The connection was real, undeniable, and profoundly meaningful. Jason's presence, once a distant memory, was now here, alive and undeniable. And in that moment, both realized that the universe had brought them together again for a reason. Humans were extraordinary, yes, but it was more than that. Their courage, ingenuity, and resilience could bridge galaxies, build trust, and forge bonds that even time could not erase. The calm of Aurora Prime did not last long. Late in the day, alarms blared across the station, a shrill warning that sent delegates and crew scrambling. Red lights bathed the corridors, and automated messages echoed through every chamber. Security breach detected. Unknown vessel approaching. Princess Lyra's heart skipped a beat. She glanced at Jason, who immediately took charge, his human instincts kicking in. While other delegates froze in shock, he moved swiftly, assessing the situation with precision. Humans were trained to adapt, and Jason's mind raced through possible strategies. He knew the station's layout, security protocols, and potential threats better than most. And now every skill he had could make the difference between chaos and order. Lyra felt a surge of admiration. Years ago, he had saved her life with courage and clever thinking. Now, she saw the same qualities in action, amplified in a high-stakes situation. Her instincts told her to trust him completely. She moved to his side, offering her assistance in ways only a Zifrin could, accessing telepathic channels to monitor stress levels among the station crew and sense potential weak points in the intruder's strategy. The rogue vessel appeared on the station's monitors, a sleek, black ship moving faster than most known technology. Its intentions were clear. It was here to steal Zifrin research, and it would not hesitate to use force. Security teams mobilized, but the attackers had advanced weaponry. Humans had never faced threats of this magnitude in many of their past missions. Yet Jason's calm focus inspired confidence in all who observed him. "Princess Lyra," he said, voice steady even in the chaos, "I need you to access the internal network and monitor all critical systems. Alert me if you detect any breach points. We can use your telepathy to anticipate their next move." Lyra nodded, concentrating her mind on the station's network. Using her abilities, she could sense the stress and movement patterns of both the crew and the intruders. Her telepathy gave them an edge that the attackers had not anticipated. Together, human ingenuity and Zifrin's psychic skill formed a powerful team. Jason moved through the command deck, issuing concise instructions. Security Team Alpha, reinforce the North Corridor. Beta, protect the research labs. Gamma, set automated defenses to contain intruders in the docking bay. Each command was calculated, precise, and effective. Humans were remarkable in their ability to combine strategy with action, and Jason's leadership proved that quality in a life-or-death situation. Lyra focused on the intruders' patterns, noticing subtle signals, changes in energy output, shifts in movement, and indications of hesitation. She relayed this information to Jason. "They are attempting to bypass the south wing, likely using cloaking devices," she said. Jason nodded. "Understood. Deploy the countermeasures. Lead them into the containment zones near the observation deck." He moved with decisive action, coordinating with security officers and using the station's automated defenses strategically. Time stretched as chaos filled the station. Explosions rocked sections of the docking bay. Alarms continued to blare, and the intruders advanced methodically. Yet Jason remained calm, making human decisions that combined logic, intuition, and a touch of unpredictability that the attackers could not anticipate. Every choice mattered, every action counted. Lyra marveled at his skill. Humans, fragile as they seemed, possessed qualities that transcended physical limitations. Creativity, adaptability, and courage made them extraordinary. Jason was a perfect example of this, his past heroism now amplified in a complex, dangerous scenario. As they moved to coordinate the defense, Lyra realized she had to take a more active role. Using her telepathy, she communicated subtle warnings to security teams, guiding them to potential ambush points. Her connection with Jason became seamless. Their teamwork was instinctive. Humans and Zifrins, two vastly different species, working together with perfect synergy. The intruders, realizing they were being anticipated, grew frustrated. Their attacks became more erratic, less coordinated. Jason noticed this and used it to his advantage. Redirect energy to the central force fields. Contain them before they reached the research labs, he commanded. His quick calculations, balancing risk and safety, demonstrated human ingenuity in high-pressure situations. Lyra watched as he adapted to every new development. Each human choice he made showed a level of creativity and courage unmatched by most other species. Humans could think on their feet, improvise solutions, and act decisively. This was why he had saved her once before, and now he was saving the station. The attackers attempted a direct assault on the central command deck. Jason anticipated this move. Deploy the containment drones. Lead them into the corridor trap, he ordered. Automated drones moved swiftly, blocking escape routes and herding the intruders into areas with reinforced energy barriers. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their unpredictability was a strength. Jason had turned it into a tactical advantage. Lara felt a sense of pride in working alongside him. She had learned to respect humans, but witnessing this level of competence firsthand was extraordinary. She realized that humans' greatest strength was not in their weapons or technology, but in their minds, their ability to act creatively, courageously, and without hesitation. The intruders tried a final, desperate move, splitting their forces to attack both the north and south wings simultaneously. Jason remained calm. Divide resources strategically. Focus on protecting the station first, neutralize threats second, he said. His leadership inspired confidence, even in those who had never met a human before. Lyra used her telepathy to coordinate with the Zifrin security officers, sending mental cues to indicate intruder positions and predicting movements. Jason acted on the information immediately, adapting defenses, redeploying officers, and maintaining control over the situation. Together, they formed a team greater than the sum of their parts. Minutes felt like hours. But gradually, the intruders were contained. The ship, unable to penetrate the station's reinforced barriers, attempted a hasty retreat. Security forces pursued, ensuring they could not return easily. Alarms finally ceased, and a tense silence fell over Aurora Prime. Princess Lyra exhaled, allowing herself to relax for the first time that day. She looked at Jason, awe and gratitude reflected in her eyes. He had not only demonstrated courage and intelligence, but he had also led with calm decisiveness under extreme pressure. Humans, she realized more clearly than ever, possessed qualities that could inspire trust, command respect, and even influence entire outcomes of events on a galactic scale. Jason, slightly exhausted but still composed, turned to her. "We did it," he said simply, though the weight of the situation hung in the air. "Yes," Lyra agreed, her voice filled with admiration. "You were remarkable, just as I remembered." She paused, realizing the significance of her words. "Humans, you possess qualities no other species can match." Jason smiled faintly. "We do what we must, Princess. Survival, strategy, creativity. These are traits we develop in response to challenges. But today, we succeeded because of teamwork. Humans alone could not have done this. Neither could Zifrins. Together, we are stronger." Lyra nodded, feeling a bond growing between them that went beyond memory. It was respect, trust, and recognition. The human who had saved her years ago had done it again, in a far larger and more complex situation. She realized that humans were not just capable, they were extraordinary. Their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability were forces that could shape the galaxy. As the station staff worked to repair damage, Lyra remained by Jason's side, observing him in a new light. The memory of the asteroid rescue was no longer just a personal recollection. It was a testament to human potential. She felt a deep admiration for him and, by extension, for humanity. Jason, noticing her gaze, asked softly, "Are you all right?" Lyra smiled, the tension of the crisis fading. "I am. Thanks to you." Her eyes reflected both gratitude and amazement. "Humans, you are remarkable in ways my people are only beginning to understand." Jason chuckled lightly. "Thank you. I suppose we have a tendency to surprise others." His eyes twinkled with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced impossible odds before. Lyra felt a spark of excitement for what was to come. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but they were also capable of incredible feats. She now knew that their partnership could extend beyond this crisis. With humans like Jason, new possibilities could be explored, threats could be faced, and alliances strengthened. The threat had passed, but the bond between them had grown stronger. The human who had saved her once on a distant asteroid had now demonstrated courage and ingenuity on an interstellar stage. And for Princess Lyra, the memory of his heroism, combined with his present actions, solidified a truth she had come to admire. Humans, despite their size and fragility, were extraordinary. She allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection, realizing that the universe was vast, unpredictable, and full of dangers, but also full of allies worth trusting. And this human, Jason Kepler, had proven that humans were not just survivors. They were capable of inspiring change, overcoming incredible odds, and protecting lives in ways no other species could match. The sun of Veron cast long, golden streaks across the hull of Aurora Prime, reflecting in the observation windows and bathing the station in a calm, almost peaceful light. The chaos of the security breach was over. The rogue alien vessel had been forced to retreat, the station repaired, and the delegates reassured. Yet for Princess Lyra, the real aftermath was not the physical restoration of the station, but the emotional clarity she now felt. She walked slowly along the observation deck, her eyes fixed on the swirling storms of the gas giant below. The power and beauty of the planet reminded her of how fragile life could be, yet how extraordinary courage could protect it. Her mind drifted to Jason Kepler. Jason, the human who had saved her years ago on a distant asteroid, had done it again in a situation far more complex and dangerous. He had not just saved her life. He had saved the lives of hundreds aboard the station. His calm decisiveness, ingenuity, and courage had turned a potential disaster into a victory. Lyra's thoughts wandered back to the asteroid. She remembered his face as he guided her across the jagged surface, how his hands were steady, how his eyes were focused yet kind. That memory had returned to her vividly when she first saw him on Aurora Prime. She had questioned her instincts, wondering if the resemblance was merely coincidence. But the events of the past day had proven the truth. Jason was extraordinary then and now. She approached the station's central command deck where Jason was reviewing post-incident reports with the security teams. His face was calm, his demeanor composed, yet there was a quiet satisfaction in his expression. Humans had a unique way of balancing humility and confidence. Jason had acted decisively when it mattered most, and now he returned to his duties without seeking recognition. Lyra cleared her throat softly, drawing his attention. "Lieutenant Kepler," she said, her voice calm but filled with respect. Jason looked up, meeting her gaze. There was no pretense in their connection, only truth. "Princess Lyra," Jason greeted her politely. "Is everything all right?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Everything is better than all right. Because of you. Today, you prove once again what I already knew years ago. Humans are remarkable." Her words carried weight. It was not flattery or diplomacy, it was recognition of something fundamental. Jason raised an eyebrow, slightly amused but curious. "Remarkable, huh? I suppose we have a tendency to surprise others." Lyra's eyes glimmered with sincerity. "Not just surprise, Jason. Humans possess qualities that few species understand: courage, adaptability, and the ability to think creatively under pressure. You exemplified these traits today, and that is why you saved so many lives." Jason paused, considering her words. He had been trained to act, to make decisions under pressure. But recognition from a princess of a highly advanced alien species was something else entirely. Humans often measured success by results, by practical outcomes. Praise and recognition were secondary, but to hear such acknowledgement, especially from Lyra, stirred a quiet pride. Lyra continued, her voice soft but steady. "I once doubted humans. Fragile, unpredictable, yet capable of incredible acts. Today, you prove that human ingenuity and courage can surpass expectation. You inspired confidence, not just in me, but in the crew and delegates around you." Jason smiled, the faint curve of his lips reflecting modest pride. "Thank you, Princess. I did what anyone would do, but I could not have done it alone. Your insight, your abilities, they made a difference." Lyra's silver eyes softened. "Yes, perhaps that is the greatest lesson. Humans are capable of extraordinary things, but together with other species, our potential is limitless. Today, we saw that truth in action. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with mutual understanding. Neither needed to speak to acknowledge the depth of respect they now shared. Lyra's heart felt lighter, her admiration for humans stronger, and her trust in Jason unshakable. Later, in a quieter part of the station, Lyra requested a private meeting with Jason. They sat in the observation deck, the stars reflecting in their eyes, creating a sense of timelessness. Lyra began to speak, this time without restraint. I want to thank you personally, she said. Not just for today, but for what you did years ago on the asteroid. That act of bravery, of selflessness. It changed my life. It shaped my understanding of humans, of what is possible. And now, seeing you again, I realize that your courage and ingenuity are not just a one-time act, they are who you are. Jason listened quietly, absorbing her words. Humans were often measured by what they did in moments of crisis. But to hear such a direct acknowledgement, especially from someone like Lyra, was profound. He had saved lives, yes, but her recognition made him understand the impact of those actions on a deeper level. Lyra continued, her voice steady but filled with emotion. Humans are underestimated by many species. They are small, fragile, and unpredictable. But those very qualities, unpredictability, ingenuity, resilience, make humans extraordinary. You, Jason Kepler, embody what makes your species remarkable. Jason's eyes softened. I appreciate that, Princess. But I did what I had to do. I act because it is necessary. Courage, creativity. Those are traits anyone can develop if they choose to act. I'm just lucky I could use them when it mattered. Lyra shook her head gently. Luck is only part of it. The rest is character, decision-making, and the willingness to face danger without hesitation. That is what sets humans apart. That is why you saved my life then, and why you helped save the station today. That is why I trust you. A quiet moment passed. The two of them gazed at the stars together, the swirling colors of Veron below reflecting in the glass. Lyra felt a sense of peace, a clarity she had not known since the asteroid. Humans, fragile as they seemed, carried a spark of ingenuity and courage that could change worlds. Jason's actions had proven it repeatedly. Finally, Lyra spoke again. I hope one day the rest of the galaxy understands humans as I do now. Your species may seem small in comparison to others, but your potential is limitless. Jason nodded slowly. Perhaps. Humans are good at surprising people, and I think we've only just begun to show what we can do. Lyra smiled faintly. Yes, and I want you to know, Jason, that I will remember this. I will remember your courage, your ingenuity, and your character. I will remember that humans can shape the galaxy in ways few others can. Jason felt a quiet pride swell inside him. Recognition from another species, from someone as accomplished and intelligent as Lyra, was rare. Yet he did not let it inflate his ego. He understood that true strength lay in action, in teamwork, and in humility. Thank you, Princess, he said simply. Your trust and recognition mean more than words can express. For Lyra, the moment was profound. Humans were not just capable of bravery, they were capable of inspiring trust, respect, and admiration across species. She felt certain now that humans had a unique place in the galaxy, not because of technology or numbers, but because of their courage, creativity, and resilience. Jason had proven it again, in a far larger context than the asteroid rescue, and she would carry that lesson forward in all her dealings with humans. As the station quieted and routines resumed, Lyra stood once more at the observation deck, gazing at the swirling storms of Veron. She thought of the asteroid, the rescue, and the events of today. Her heart felt full of respect, gratitude, and renewed hope. Humans were extraordinary, not perfect, not flawless, but capable of courage and ingenuity that could influence the fate of many worlds. Jason joined her silently. The two of them shared a quiet understanding, a bond forged through past events, renewed in the present, and strengthened by mutual recognition. Lyra turned to him, a small smile on her lips. The galaxy is vast, Jason, but with humans like you, perhaps it is not as impossible as it seems. Jason chuckled softly. I suppose not. One step at a time. Lyra nodded. One step at a time, and one act of courage at a time. Humans can truly make a difference. The The stars glittered in the distance, the storms of Veron swirling below, and for the first time in years, Lyra felt a sense of certainty about the future. Humans were remarkable. They were capable, resilient, and brave. And in Jason Kepler, she had witnessed the best of what humanity could offer. As the observation deck lights dimmed for the night cycle, Lyra knew one thing for sure. Humans would always have a place among the stars. Their courage, ingenuity, and determination could shape the galaxy in ways others could only dream of. And with allies like Jason, the future was brighter, bolder, and full of endless possibilities. The human who had once saved her life had returned, and now, together, they had shaped the fate of a station, inspired trust, and shown that even the smallest species could leave a mark on the universe. Princess Lyra exhaled, a quiet smile on her lips, her heart filled with admiration and hope. The galaxy was wide, the stars were many, and humans were extraordinary.